welcome to the 20th episode of Fish and Grits, the podcast. My name is Ryan Dollar. I will be your hostess with, some would say the mostest, but not quite today. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, my stepbrother. It's going to keep on going, Marco Restrepo.
Marco Eckes for everybody.
Marco Eckes. And our resident Oscar the Grouch today, Micah Poole.
That was a mean mug for anybody listening.
So we have made it 20 episodes in. This has actually flown by. I remember our first couple of episodes when we were on headsets and AirPods, and we sounded like we were talking into a Pringles can.
With fans on.
Micah was cutting in and out. His volume would spike up to the ceiling and then back down. Editing those episodes were fun.
Right. It's like, what do we use from this?
How do we do this? Can they hear us? So today is September 22nd, 2020 for posterity. Started off with a little bit of current events here. We'll kind of fly through these and a lot of our other sports today because we have one main topic that we really want to dive into and really talk about today because we have a lot of feelings about them, and I'm sure they're all going to come pouring out. So in Louisville, they have shut down the city essentially. They've barricaded all the main streets in Louisville in preparation for the announcement of whether or not their attorney general is going to press charges against the officers involved in the shooting of Breonna Taylor. There really hasn't been much development. That happened this morning. There's been Twitter banter going on all day. People are just kind of waiting on bated breath to see what was going to happen with this. One of the officers involved did tweet, though, or he wrote an email to 1,000 police officers saying that they acted morally. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, so Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, one of the officers involved in the police killing of Breonna Taylor, said, "I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night," in an email to around 1,000 police officers. He called protesters thugs and said it was good versus evil. So he doesn't seem like he's too concerned about this, but God willing, they do the right thing in Louisville. They haven't been acting as they're going to these past 6 months, and the fact that it's taken this long. If they were going to charge them, I don't think they're going to do it now.
Out of all the ones, I wonder why. Because it seems like, obviously 2 unarmed black men get shot per week on average, but all the ones that have been national stories, it seems like all the other ones have been arrested already. I wonder why they're taking so darn long in Kentucky, but maybe that's the answer in itself.
Right. I was about to say you answered your own question, Marco.
It's Kentucky.
Let's move past that depressing topic and right into another one, where the United States has surpassed 200,000 deaths from COVID-19. Now, I remember back in March when Dr. Fauci predicted that we would probably see more than 200,000 deaths in the United States, and everyone thought he was crazy, and everyone thought that was so far-fetched that he was really just fear-mongering. And yet, here we are. And I saw a couple of facts today that was just really, it put it into perspective.
And we're going to share them with you.
Yeah, here you go, guys. And if you've been having a bad day, I would suggest fast forwarding about 2 minutes. If you don't quite get how big this pandemic actually is and how it's affected the United States, stay tuned. So on average, we're seeing 858 plus Americans die a day from COVID-19. And that counts your comorbidities and all those things. And for those of y'all that don't understand that, if you have emphysema or something and then you get COVID, that is the thing that's going to go on your death certificate. The death mechanism is going to be lung failure and lack of oxygen to the brain and things like that. This pandemic has more deaths than the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, and the War of Afghanistan, and the Persian Gulf War combined. It's the equivalent of having the 9/11 attacks on America every day for 66 days straight. And it's 109 times higher, the death rate is, than Hurricane Katrina.
Jesus.
So these are all things that we can remember from our youth that we can look back on and be like, man, that was so many lives lost. That was terrible. Like people talk about the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq and all the senseless lives lost there is like, this is crazy. How did we lose that many American lives to this? Yet that doesn't even put a dent into what we've lost here and on our own soil. We're not even fighting another nation, another person. We're just fighting ourselves essentially. And Lionel added a neat little fact here. It said, this is the 4th highest death rate for any event in American history. Number 1 being the Civil War. Number 2, World War II. Number 3, the 1918 flu pandemic, so the Spanish flu. And then now, here we are, biting on the heels of the 1918 flu pandemic. It's
always nice to be on the wrong side of history. But Atlanta Falcons fans would know a lot about that.
Shut up. You're about to ignite Mount Micah down there.
About to explode. Sorry.
Also today, I was one of the people involved in this. The pre-orders for the next generation of Xbox came out, and just like PlayStation did, it crashed just about every available server that was hosting it. So you saw Target go down, you saw Best Buy go down, Amazon had a queue. What's that place that rips you off when you trade in games? GameStop. When you went to their website, you were actually placed in a queue. Before you even did anything, you didn't have to be going for the Xbox. If you went there and said, hey, you're now in line, wait patiently. If you hit refresh, you're going to be kicked to the back of the line. So I had all these open.
Jesus.
And I saw Lionel's note here. So they crashed everything. They ran out within like an hour.
How you run out of something you're pre-ordering?
Well, a lot of these companies they're only pre-ordering the amount they have.
They get it set a lot of amount.
Right. Okay. So they ran out of that really quick. In Australia, they ran out yesterday within 90 minutes. And then they hit a second wave here about 4 hours later, and those ran out within about 30 minutes as well. So people were all over it. Now, it's probably going to be like that for a while because half these factories are working at limited capacity and they're only churning out as many as they could. So
you say you were part of this. Which one did you get?
I got nothing.
Oh, you were pushed to the back.
My meeting, because they first announced it was going to be at 8 a.m. So I got up at 7:58, looked on there. I'm like, okay, I can't do anything. And then they said, oh, it's actually going to be 11 a.m. to account for Pacific Standard Time. So my meeting ran over by about 20 minutes. So I missed 20 minutes of it. Yep. So I missed it.
Wait. So, and then you said the same thing had happened to PlayStation like a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah. Last week.
So tell me this, in terms of the PlayStation, so they have the options where you have a CD drive and you don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not like a serious gamer, do you even really need a CD drive?
You really don't need a disk drive at all anymore.
Even really, if you are serious. The only thing disk drives are for is if you use it like a Blu-ray player as well as a gaming system. But I mean, if you don't, you can buy all games digitally. Which, if you buy them digitally, you can game share and stuff. So it makes it a whole lot simpler than buying the actual disc anyway.
Yeah, when you buy a game, you get the license for that disc that you bought. When you buy them digitally, to save costs and to drive that market, so people, so they could back off on producing all these boxes and all these CDs. They said, we'll give you two game licenses, and you can share. So what myself and a lot of and Mike and a lot of the guys that we do online with is, we'll say, hey, look, I'll give you my gamer tag login. You give me yours. We switch off. I make his Xbox my home for my game tag, and vice versa. So that way, if I buy a game, he gets a license and I get a license. And so what we do is we just flip flop. So essentially, you get every game for half off, because you get two for the price of one.
So you just play it till you beat it or whatever.
Yeah, and that way you can just you save it on your hard drive, and if it's one you want to keep, it stays there forever. If not, you can delete it, but you can still always access it from the game store at any time and just re-download it.
Plus it saves gamers money, Because if I game share with somebody, like you can organize like, all right, I'll buy 2K if you buy Madden. So that way you don't have to sit there and go and buy every single game. Because that was really the biggest thing. But like GameStop with the disc, you would have to make decisions on what games you want to keep, which games you wanted to trade in towards the next game, which GameStop would rip you off and like, oh yeah, this game came out 6 months ago. We'll give you $3 for it.
Here's $3.17.
I mean, as growing up, that was just a part of gaming. I'm glad that aspect has been eliminated.
Well, the crazy thing is Sony and Microsoft leaked. They basically taught their users how to game share just to cut the middleman with GameStop.
Oh yeah, it was an assault on GameStop, is what it was.
They deserve it. They've been abusing people for decades.
Anybody older than, like, let's see, when they first started doing this, we were about, 25, Micah? It was about 7-8 years ago when this first started.
Less than that, probably.
No, because I was still in the Army.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it was. I didn't start sharing until. Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think I was about 25, 26 when they first started doing this. So when that happened, anyone of that age and a little bit older who's had their experience with GameStop was like, "You mean I don't have to trade games anymore, and I don't have to do this stupid shit?" But I immediately cut. I was like, "Never again am I buying a game." And I haven't had a disc probably for almost 10 years now. Just go out, buy an external hard drive, save all your games on there, and you're good to go.
I think Madden 25 was the last disc I had.
Yeah, that's probably about the same for me too. So let's transition to America's pastime here. I'll give you an update as the.
You mean racism?
Yeah. By the way, we're a racist podcast now.
Sorry.
We're not even going to talk about racism. We're just racists now.
Racist.
The Braves are currently playing the Miami Marlins. They just ended the bottom of the third, and the Braves are up 2-0.
That's good. It is a clinching game, so we can clinch the division because the Phillies lost yesterday, I believe, and that's a good start.
So, Micah, you want to give us America's pastime or what? What you want to do here?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So, as of yesterday, the magic number was 3, but since the Phillies lost last night, it's now 2. So if we win and the Phillies lose again, then we'll clinch the division officially. So far in the game, Ozuna's hit another bomb.
It's good to see him getting his swing back.
Yeah, well, I mean, like just the first inning. I mean, Acuna lined out, hit a rocket to the left fielder for an out. Freddie Freeman in a 2-hole hits a shot back up the middle, but they had to shift on, so it was right to the shortstop. So it's 2 outs automatically, and Acuna just goes bomb. So, I mean, it's big. So the other terrible news was the hopes of Cole Hamels being a veteran arm in the playoffs have already been dashed because he has shoulder fatigue after pitching 3 innings in his first start. So he is officially out for the season. So we paid $18 million for 3 innings of work, which if I'm Cole Hamels, I'm feeling great. But, for the Braves and Braves fans, it's like, really, bro? Seriously? That was just a waste of money.
That is quite a gig. 3, not even like an hour of work for $18 million. Bruh. That's like chic prices, like for some of these entertainers.
Bro, like the only better job than that is, because he's making a lot more. I would say some of those backup quarterbacks who never actually get in the game, but he's making more than them. Yeah, he's making way more than them for just 3 innings of pitching for an entire season. So
He was a very expensive pitching coach.
Yeah.
Is what he was.
My God. But so that happens. So that leaves us with a very young and inexperienced pitching staff going into the playoffs, where we have Fried as the ace, Ian Anderson as the second. Tomlin is
Kyle Wright's probably locked down that number 3 after his last 2 starts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Wright's actually look good, and Tomlin as a 4th option. I mean, I'm not too excited, especially if we wind up drawing the Dodgers first round. But
who we're matched up against?
Who, the Cardinals? Well, I mean, hopefully Ozuna just turns Turks to another level for letting them walk. But I mean, it would be. I like Ian Anderson and Fried. I think they really can do some good work for us. Right, we're yet to see what he can do in an actual meaningful game.
High leverage.
Ian Anderson as well, but and then Tomlin. I mean, hopefully, if we have to pitch Tomlin, hopefully he can continue to be just decent, just slightly solid. I mean, that's all we really need, because as explosive as our offense is, you just need a pitcher who's not going to give up 5-6. You just need a pitcher who's not going to put you in this 5-6 run hole early on in the game. So
Kyle Wright has lowered his ERA 2.5 points over his last 3 starts. So
wow,
he's really starting to get that addition of that new pitch, man. Paul Bird was dead on. That's
the split finger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's a totally different pitcher.
Split finger is an outs pitch. He gets a lot of ground balls if you can control it, because that's the problem. Some dudes can throw it, they just don't have the control over it. But if you can do that, you give runners on base, a lot of double plays and things of that nature. So
that's what actually extended Clemens' career. When he started to lose a little bit of that velocity, he developed that split finger, and man, that's when I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. I think Roy Halladay also threw a splitter. That pitch, like when you can master that pitch, you have to have big enough hands to do it. But when you can master that pitch, that is a dirty pitch. That and just a hard, late biting sinker. Those are my 2 favorite pitches.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a team this good without any answers at pitching?
I'm sure. Actually, yeah. I remember the Rangers a few years ago.
Yeah, that's a good.
They had that ridiculous with Josh Hamilton and Nelson Cruz. They had that explosive offense, but they had like one good starting pitcher, and it was just like, all right, well, once he's done, then it was CJ Wilson was the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just like they had CJ Wilson, who was their ace, and then everybody else was just no names after that. And
they were almost identical to us, actually, because they had a really good bullpen.
And the problem was that Nelson Cruz missed pop fly cost them the World Series, and they wound up losing in Game 7, and just it all fell apart after that.
I would say defensively, we're probably better than them, though.
Yeah. Josh Hamilton was actually a solid defensive outfielder, though.
Yeah. So, are we making it past the Cardinals this year, Marco?
Is that who we're playing the first round?
That's who we're currently matched up against.
Yeah, I think so.
Micah?
Yeah.
We can't just keep on getting beat by the same team.
I have a long history of being scared of the Cardinals, and it's still going to get the best of me. I'm going to say no.
No.
Well, I haven't been truly impressed by them this year.
You never do until you get to the playoffs. So that's the problem with the Cardinals. They'll be like, they sneak up on you, and then boom, they make
There's more
get
a
it.
function of braving.
But
I get it, but at the same time, that series was an anomaly to me. I've never seen Freddie Freeman as cold as he was.
He had that elbow injury.
And then you had Freddie Freeman just couldn't buy a hit. Like he had like that one home run like in late in that game, in like game one where we made that big comeback, then like could not hit the ball. Donaldson struggled. I think Acuna actually had a pretty good series, but it was a lot of that lineup just like could not buy a hit. So part of me thinks that this year being a short season, I think we could muster up enough offense to just overpower him essentially.
Okay.
Do y'all think that I know he deserves it, but do y'all think that Freddie has a great shot at getting this MVP?
He's the MVP.
I think so, but it depends on if somebody else who's close makes a push late, because
Tatis is really the only other person that has a chance to catch him.
Yeah, but I mean, and like Freddie's 0 for 12 in his last 12 at bats, so he hadn't gotten hit in his last 12 at bats. So if Tatis like just has another offensive explosion late, possibly he could steal it. He could possibly steal it away from him, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I think Freddie might have that locked down. Though.
Should they even give out individual awards in a season this short?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. They were talking about it last night on the broadcast that people who are going to try and put asterisks to these awards and things like that. They said it's much harder this season because when you go on the road this year, you're essentially in jail in the hotel. You can't go out. You can't do anything. You're locked down in your room. So it's much more mentally taxing than it is. And you do it for like 11 to 12 days at a time where you're locked in the hotel room.
Right.
So I mean, at first I was kind of like, they may cheapen an MVP, but after hearing everything they've had to go through, no.
Right. Especially in such a mental game as baseball.
Right. Let's be honest. None of us know anything about soccer. Let's skip it on down the road to old Jelly Time himself.
Now it's time for, what is it called? The layup, a.k.a. the finger roll, a.k.a. Jelly Time, a.k.a. my favorite title, Points in the Paint. So the most recent updates is that we are currently in the Eastern Conference Finals. We are at 2-1 with the Miami Heat leading the Boston Celtics. They will resume their series on Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. And with the Western Conference, we are at 2-0 with that game going on today with the Lakers leading the Nuggets. The Nuggets made a valiant effort to take a lead with under 20 seconds left. And then AD unguarded on the final shot of the game.
He wasn't unguarded. Jokic was right there in his face.
Well, they didn't deny him.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jokic was trying to deny the inbound. And then he ran over to AD after he got the pass. So you're always gonna in the NBA. That's
late closeout equals buckets.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's why you need Bo there to defend that.
Mike Malone, man, use your pieces.
Bo at like 7'12" would have thrown that shot into the third row.
That's what I'm saying. Just deny that man. But he hits a very impressive Kobe Bryant-like fadeaway. That's generous though. It wasn't Kobe Bryant-like at all. But he did say Mamba. He did say Mamba, and it was clutch. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But so on the Boston-Miami series. How do y'all think that one is going to go? I think we sort of already discussed this, and I think that we all sort of said either 6 or 7. Ryan, go ahead and elaborate.
I'm going first on this one because Gordon Hayward just changed the motherfucking Eastern Conference Finals. They have gone to a 5-out small ball lineup, and what was killing the Celtics for so long is they could not I almost called him Bismack Biyombo. They could not guard your boy. Help me out on his name here. I'm blanking. Oh yeah, Bam Adebayo.
Bam.
he was killing them on the pick and rolls. He was killing them in their defense. And that was really where the Celtics were struggling, because the Heat were setting in a high 3-2 zone, and they had Jimmy and Jay Crowder up top. And, their point guards would switch in and out between Hero and Nunn and all them. And so they had Bam and whoever was playing their 4 roaming the corners. And Bam was just coming off the weak side and just throwing shots left and right. Now, with 5 shooters on the floor, he can't sit down in the paint anymore. He can't ignore who's in the corner. Like Tice was not really a threat. If you leave him open, he may hit like 25, maybe 30% of his shots.
He'll usually hesitate because
he's not a shooter.
Yeah.
But now you put 5 shooters on the floor, and Bam is now responsible for either Hayward or Tatum. That changes things. He's now not 1 foot on the block and kind of thinking about the corner. He's thinking about the corner and 3 steps out of the paint. So this completely changes things for him. I think, as much as I want to see the Heat make it, because they are a fun team to watch, and the Celtics were my underdog pick for this whole thing, I just think at this point, now that Hayward's back, it just changes this. It's too much talent. It's too much talent for the Heat to really, unless they come out with some type of game-changing adjustment that I mean, maybe they throw Iggy in at the 4. I mean, I would be okay with, or shifting Jay to the 4.
I don't think Iggy's.
Well, Crowder's been playing the 4.
Yeah,
he's been playing some of the 4.
Iggy, I don't even think he's
split.
Can't utilize Iggy anymore. He's just not good anymore.
But he's still defensively good.
I don't even know about that. Every time I see Iggy on the floor, he's a big 0.
I mean, who else do they have? They don't have Justice anymore. They traded him. Their forward depth.
Can play the 4. What's his name? Never plays. Myers Leonard's a 5 though.
Yeah, Leonard and Plum. Olynyk.
Olynyk, yeah.
He's just not. He's not athletic.
Olynyk's too big and too slow to play.
Yeah,
that 4.
the only thing you get with Olynyk is you get the shooting from the. He can spread the floor too,
and he'll rip someone's shoulder out of socket for you.
Well, yeah, and he's physical. He's physical on defense, and he can shoot on offense.
Who did he do that to? Back in
who did he?
They got tied up on a ball, and
they got real mad at him. That's when he was in Boston.
Yeah.
Was it someone on the Hawks?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, that's all I remember Olynyk for. Not all, but mostly what I remember Olynyk for.
I feel your prediction was already Boston, though, so you just think they're going to wrap it up quicker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Y'all go 6 now.
Okay.
What's the name? Miami has Silva and James was James Jones or
that's the guy.
Yeah, James Jones.
Yeah, he fouls a lot, but he's serviceable. He's serviceable, and he can penetrate.
Is it Jones? I can't remember if it's Jones, but
it is Jones. I forget what his first name is though. But he always commits stupid fouls. Like that's his
Derek
thing.
Jones.
Derek Jones, yeah.
Yeah. James Jones is the guy who's no longer in the league. That used to be
LeBron's best friend, who's Phoenix GM now.
Yeah, but I mean, Derek Jones, athletic, can shoot, can jump out the gym.
Long.
Yeah, can jump out the gym. But I mean, who's next?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean that's it. Really, we've covered. I'm looking at their depth chart right now. The only person is Myers Leonard, Kelly Olynyk.
He doesn't play. Yeah. Kelly Olynyk hasn't really been playing that much either. So, I mean, I think it's just gonna keep on going back and forth. But Micah, have you changed your perspective of this series at all?
No, I mean, I still have a lot of faith in Miami just because of their shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't trust some of the wing players for Boston because Kemba's known.
That's like all they are. They're all wing players.
Well, I mean, but like Kemba's known to go cold at times.
Yeah.
And Marcus Smart definitely known to go cold as a shooter. I mean, he's more of a, high value like role player, like wing role player, defender type who can occasionally knock down the 3. When he's knocking down the 3, you're in trouble. But if he's not, then you're just going to get he's still on the floor. He's mostly on the floor for defense though.
Marcus Smart has actually been shooting the best he ever has in his career.
Well, I know,
this bubble.
but that's the thing. It's like I don't trust his shot. It's kind of like J.R. Smith. When J.R. gets hot, it like he'll light you up, but he's inconsistent. Like he legitimately, like when he loses that rhythm, it's like dude can't buy a shot, but he's going to continue to jack him. He's just not going to hit anything. So like Marcus Smart to me is kind of like that. It's like when he's hot, he can be deadly. And like, you know, you're not going to beat them. If Marcus Smart's putting up 21 against you, then chances are, you know, you're not going to beat them because it's too many people to worry about with Kemba and Tatum and Gordon and
Jalen
Brown. Like with him, with all of them, it's too much firepower to worry about if Marcus Smart is knocking down shots. But if he's not knocking down shots and he's just a body on the floor like he is a lot of times, then you know you might have a shot. The biggest problem I see with Miami though is their best shooters are liabilities on defense.
Yeah, Duncan Robinson's another guy who always commits stupid fouls.
Between Duncan and Tyler Hero, now granted, Tyler is cold-blooded on offense. Like what game was that? Was that who were they playing? Who they played before the Celtics? Milwaukee.
But yeah,
it was one of those one of the games that Milwaukee won. It was like they would go down, hit a shot. Milwaukee would go down, hit a shot, go up by like 4. Tyler Hero just come down, bang, like knock down the 3, wouldn't even touch rim. Like Jesus, like he did it like 3 possessions in a row where it was like they get down, he just come, bang, like didn't even touch rim. Like good God,
one of the wettest jumpers,
bruh. It's nasty, but like at the same time, like you said, I think that the 5-out system, Boston is going to give Miami some problems. But like I said, I still think I trust Miami's shooters a little more than I trust Boston's. So I still think Miami's going to take the series in 6.
Okay, in 6. Okay. So my take on this, like everything y'all said, I agree with everything y'all said. With Marcus Smart, it's like, to me, it's always been like, if you allow Marcus Smart to get hot, right, he handles the ball a lot, he starts making terrible decisions. And that costs Boston a lot, right? And then Kemba has been terrible this whole bubble. So for me, Gordon Hayward, and by the way, it's like when Gordon came back to the bubble he came back, I think, in game 6 against Toronto. I was like, yeah, Toronto's done. Like this. You can put all your money on Boston. But I don't know if the bringing back Gordon is going to be enough to overcome how bad Kemba's been playing. And then Marcus Smart's just bad decision making. I know Jalen has been Mr. Consistent. Tatum's like off and on every other game, you know. So I still think Miami. I'm still partial towards Miami, and I also like the narrative better of Miami and the Lakers. Like I also love that with Pat Riley. You got LeBron's old team. There's just so many good narratives there. So I actually like that narrative better than the tired Lakers Celtics narrative.
One that no one our age cares about.
Yeah, that no one wants to see Bird and Magic highlights, all through the finals. So I'm still, I still think Miami is going to pull this out, and I think it's going to be 7 as well. So on to the Western Conference Finals. Everybody pretty much, like I said at the beginning, Denver had a surge, but everybody's pretty much counting Denver out of this thing. I think they have a good chance tonight just because I expect them to get at least one game. They've been playing well, all things considered, but when you're against the Lakers, you're also against the referees. Is there a player in NBA history that gets more ticky-tack fouls than LeBron James?
Michael Jordan. The fuck? Watch Jordan old game, man. You would breathe on him.
Okay, I don't think
get
so,
your
though,
bias out of here. Watch
this
those
is-
games.
I still remember those Piston games where he was legitimately getting beat down.
Yeah, that was before he was
Meanwhile,
MJ, though.
LeBron is running over folks and they're calling fouls on everybody but LeBron. Like, I remember one time LeBron trucked Josh Smith, hit him at the free throw line, drove him under the basket, and they called a foul on Josh Smith. Like that, bruh. Like that. That's what Zeke did to Casey, and y'all talking about.
Right.
That's not offense.
So we'll get to that. We'll get to that, Mike. No, but no. But so the only reason I'm saying that is because, like you said, so Michael Jordan, yeah, he got a lot of fouls. Kobe Bryant got a lot of fouls. Even James Harden, obviously, he's the most egregious foul getter in NBA history. One of the most annoying foul getters in NBA history. And Luka is slowly taking that title too. But LeBron, the way LeBron plays, it's like you said, he runs over people. It's like Michael Jordan would get you in a pivot and then he'd post you. He'd do like what Kawhi does nowadays. But LeBron runs through people and always gets those foul calls. I'm like, he literally hurts people. And ends up
but a lot of those guys are still moving their feet when they're in front of him, though. That's the problem.
I know. It's just so unfortunate.
Even still, but like, you can get an offensive foul without the defender planting their feet.
Right, especially if he bows you in the face or in the chest or in the nuts.
Arm, but if you're,
like
if you're running,
he does a lot.
He does.
I've seen full stiff arms from forearm shivers.
I saw that in the Houston series. I don't even remember who they played in the first round. But I just feel like the referees, watching a game and cheering against the Lakers is so tough to me because you're always going to just see those terrible calls. You're like, oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Man down.
And the freeze.
Dr. Freeze.
I'm just glad it's not me this week.
It's both of y'all. Y'all both have been having terrible problems with the internet.
Comcast sucks. They still haven't come out and bury our cable.
He's back.
Am I back? Okay.
Back.
Yeah.
You're all going to get one of those what?
This is the second time I've actually dropped out. I don't know if y'all noticed the first time.
Yeah, I did.
You did. It was during when I asked about the baseball question. I don't know why my internet is always trash. I called AT&T, and they have, these days everybody wants to blame everything on COVID. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, we can't answer our phones because of COVID." Like, what the hell? But then
the line transmission.
Right. Then after that, they're like, "Yeah, we know your service probably sucks right now, but there's nothing we can do for you." Well, anyway. So fighting through my ongoing bad service. I was just saying that it's tough watching Laker games because as soon as the team starts to make a run, you're going to see call after call after call that just go towards the Lakers, and it just frustrates me. But that's why I've sort of not really been watching this Denver series. But I did catch the end of that game, and I've been upset a lot here. Did anybody have anything to add about this series, about this Denver series?
I think you saw the Nuggets' best swing this last game, and to have it lost in that last second, I think their spirits are broken. I think this is going to be a sweep.
I think this Nuggets team is a lot tougher than we thought.
Yeah, they are for sure.
And because that Clipper series, I thought early on in that Clipper series they were done in 5, and they legitimately like turned it up a little bit. I think they have a little more. I think if they can win this game tonight, then they could legitimately make a push and possibly win the series in 7, or at least take it to 7.
Okay.
But they have to win tonight. Otherwise, you're done.
So you think that they could win? What advantages do you think that they can exploit to possibly push this thing to 7?
Well, one, the guards. I think Jamal Murray is better than any guard that the Lakers have. They like if he gets on, and he did like he was doing in the Clippers and the Jazz series, and putting up 40 plus 50 points. Like, I mean, Rondo can't guard him. All right, you put Danny Green on him, who's a bigger body, but he's not quick enough to guard him. So, I mean, I think that could be a mismatch. Jokic is Jokic. Jokic is going to do what he can do. Honestly, if anything, I would try and put Bol in a little more, just to give them an ultimate mismatch, just to see, like, all right, what's their adjustment to this 7'3" guy who can play like a wing player, who can shoot, who can stretch the floor, and is super long and can defend. I would just try it,
Right. What do you have to lose?
What you got to lose?
Right. And MPJ needs to come out they like put him in his locker. He hasn't come out yet. So.
Well, and that's another thing. He's one that'll be quiet, and then all of a sudden he'll just turn it on during the series, and next thing you know, like you're like, oh, he's done. Then he just boom. When he turns it on, then everybody else turns it on. And it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, he's their spark plug.
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully tonight MPJ comes out and has at least 15 points. Because I really do want to see. I would love to see the Nuggets in the finals because I just don't like watching LeBron James play basketball. But and then wait, what else do we have on this list? Celtics finally. We pretty much discussed everything here.
There's only two
that's
teams
pretty
left.
much it for the NBA. But anything else that I can even think of? No, not really. That's it.
You want to take a break here?
Yeah.
Real quick, and then come back and go into the most depressing Gritz Blitz of the year?
Yes, sir.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. We had a riveting conversation about
the
black holes and quantum physics and quarks and all those things that we're obviously experts on that we don't have time to talk about on the show. We're all geniuses. Let's go ahead and get into the Blitz Grits, and we'll skim over what happened last week in the NFL. And did I do it again?
Yeah.
The Blitz Grits.
What'd you say?
I call it the Blitz Grits again. The Grits Blitz.
Blitz Grits.
Welcome to the Blitz Grits. Wait a second.
Oh wait, did Azuna just hit a double? Okay, yeah. We're up 4-0 now.
Nice.
All right, go ahead.
What inning?
Bottom of the fifth.
That means we've got about 7 more runs to score before this game is over. No one
Right, only one out. One on.
These are usually the innings that we do it. All right, so last week we started off with Thursday Night Football, where the Bengals and the Browns actually gave us a very entertaining game. Joe Burrow was by far the best quarterback on the field in that game.
Yeah, that man was impressive. His placement is ridiculous. It's like I don't understand how he got a concussion and suddenly became an amazing football player.
Knocked some sense into him, literally. Right. But the problem was that 2-headed attack by the Browns on the ground is just lethal.
Woo.
And if Stefanski sticks with that and actually runs for, if he gives Chubb anywhere between 15 to 20 carries a game and he can get Kareem Hunt about 10 to 15 a game, that's a hard team to stop because that's when that play action will come into effect, and Baker can throw you about 15 to 7.
I loved how when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt closed that game out, Baker was still on the sideline doing his like little celebration and stuff. Like he had anything to do with that. He literally threw an interception in the third, and like they didn't let him throw the ball again.
I mean, that was a terrible pick too. He did not see that guy in the deep third on the left side at all.
It was terrible.
Like Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we saw the New York Giants and Bears face off. The Bears is who we'll be playing this next week. Chicago barely beat Saquon-less Giants 17-13. We'll skip that game.
Forcing them to stick with Mitch. That's like if you're a Bears fan, that's the worst thing. It's like to get these wins, have Mitch play terrible. Like that one throw he threw that touchdown was an absolute wobbler.
I was like, what was that? It's like a duck just going to the left side. It was a hard thrown duck, but it was a duck nonetheless.
That was Mitch.
Green Bay doubled up the Lions.
Green Bay looking serious as hell this year.
They
revenge tour.
We'll see, man. They're one of those teams that just they always go through that NFC North. They beat people, and it's like, okay, but is the NFC North actually good?
No.
I mean, I don't think there's any team in that division other than Green Bay that's going to go above 500 this year.
The Bears might.
Maybe the Bears.
Might mistake into it.
The Bears.
They might mistake into that.
Stumble into a 9-7 record.
Mitchell's about to lead them to 12-4.
Shit.
They're gonna win every game 17-13.
Let's see. We got Jacksonville at Tennessee. Jacksonville, for getting rid of every known player on their roster, has been competitive in both their games. Yeah. They lost 30-33 to Tennessee. That kind of worries me about Tennessee, actually. They've got a really loaded roster, and they have not looked the part this year. Minnesota.
Well, Tannehill's being himself.
Yeah. Tannehill's regressed back into Tannehill.
Yeah.
Well, he had a good game last. Statistically, he had a good game. He threw for like 4 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, I did see that because he was on my bench with like 35 points. Minnesota loses to Indianapolis 28-11.
Old man Rivers. Minnesota's really bad.
Yeah, they lost too many pieces. It's way too many pieces gone. Buffalo barely squeaks by Miami. San Francisco loses half of their defensive team and still manages to trounce the Jets 31-13.
Not even just that, man. Garoppolo got hurt.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mostert got hurt. Tevin Coleman got hurt.
Are these all serious injuries?
No. So Mostert's sprained MCL. I think Tevin Coleman was something similar. Like Jerick McKinnon is planning on starting the next game. So, they really got beat up.
It's like my fantasy team, not in the West Georgia League, Micah, but the other one. It's like my entire bench is just like red marks next to them. I'm like, I only have so many IR spots, so.
Like almost every first rounder I picked in all of my leagues is out for the season now.
Boy, it's been a rough go for first round picks in fantasy. Michael Thomas is going to miss significant time. Saquon Barkley's done for the season. Christian McCaffrey's probably done for at least 6 weeks, is what they're saying.
Three of my 4 first round picks.
Wow. I always say that, like, after running backs have amazing seasons, they usually get hurt the next season.
Well, yeah, the volume, like Michael Turner always, like every time he had a 300-yard season, he'd get hurt that next season. Yeah, a 300 carry season, he'd get hurt that next season.
It's like clockwork. It's like
that's why you don't pay running backs, Micah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think part of this isn't necessarily I think the lack of the abbreviated preseason and stuff.
These are all your preseason injuries that you typically see.
Yeah, and I mean, and so you're expecting superstar caliber players who haven't had really a lot of training, they haven't taken contact, but they're expected to carry their normal load, and their bodies just physically aren't in game shape or close enough. Because I mean, like even though Julio wasn't serious, but I mean Julio was hobbled, like like non-contact, just hamstring pulling up. So I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of star and superstar caliber players. You're seeing like the fact that the abbreviated preseason is like they're not ready yet. They're not ready to be taking that kind of load yet.
I just wonder though, because do you think it also has to do with just like abbreviated practices? Because a lot of times the players don't really play in preseason. So it's like, I do understand in theory, but then at the same time, it's like, I don't know, injuries just happen. It's like, because no amount of stretching, no amount of on-field preparation can prevent injuries sometimes. Because it's like, I don't know, a lot of these, like Julio wouldn't have been playing anyway in the preseason.
Well, yeah, well, like what like Shannon Sharp said it best. He's like, you know, even though starters don't play much, he's like that. It helped, like the contact and stuff helps you kind of get your body acclimated to that kind of abuse again.
Right.
So like, you know, you get used to like falling and like even when you get tackled, like falling and not getting in those awkward positions. Now sometimes you just can't avoid it, but I mean, like you get used to the contact. You're seeing a lot of like, I mean, Foye got cramps and missed
that hydrate, young man.
and missed the entire second half of the game. Matter of fact, he missed like the last 3/4 of the game
on that bike
because of cramps. And you know, like half of the dudes on our team that got hurt, it was just like they weren't serious, but it's like it was just almost like out of shape injuries when you're out of shape.
Right. Yeah, I could definitely see the shape thing just because like most of their training camp and all that was on Zoom calls and you know.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's the end.
Yeah.
Y'all both just stopped talking.
Well, I mean, I thought we were going to keep going.
Yeah, I got you. So the Los Angeles Rams, who everyone seems to be in love with, and I still haven't seen enough for them to really be impressive. I feel like they've had 2 really weak opponents in the first 2 weeks.
The Eagles are really bad. They're like Minnesota.
I got sound coming out of nowhere. I hate ESPN tabs for that. They'll just randomly start playing videos if you keep them open long enough.
ESPN's always been the most spammy website ever.
God, it's the worst. They really just thrashed the decimated by injuries Philadelphia Eagles. Denver surprisingly stayed in the game against Pittsburgh, despite them being
QB-less.
Very injured. Yeah, they lost their quarterback. You know, still no Von Miller. Cortland Sutton done for the year. Yeah. So
that division that the Chiefs are in is going to be really competitive. Really competitive.
Then you've got Carolina at Tampa Bay. Tampa goes out and wins. Their defense carries them. Their offense still doesn't look good to me. They're gaining rhythm. We'll see. It's still, you know, talent-wise, that game should have been a 50 to 20-something game.
Right.
If you're talking about sheer talent, because Tampa's, you know, loaded on both sides of the ball.
The Panthers were within the spread until the last play. So
right. Leonard Fournette got 2 touchdowns, I think, in that game. So looks like he might be stealing away a little bit of carries from Rojo. Washington runs into a buzzsaw in Arizona. Kyler Murray is a dark horse MVP candidate this year, although this may just be the wrong year because Russ is running away with it right now.
Russ's trophy.
Yeah.
Well, I think Russ is one. Like Russ typically has great early games in the season, and then when he starts getting into division play, his numbers start to drop a little bit because they play a little more cautious against their own division rivals, like the Niners. So
that's very true. But I think I've never heard the MVP narrative be so strong for him either. Boy. So they're gonna try.
Early last year it was very strong. He was about neck and neck with Lamar until that first Niners game where he threw for like $180 and 1 touchdown, and Lamar
just took off.
Yeah, just took off. So it was like I said, he had success early, but when they start getting into the division games, like they start running the ball a little more, teams know them a lot better, so they cover the receivers. They don't just like, oh yeah, we're not afraid of the passing game. They know how to take away what they like. So, I mean, we'll see.
Let's see. Then we've got Kansas City and the Chargers, which was a surprising overtime game. Justin Herbert stepped in for the injured Tyrod Taylor and threw for 300.
Was that why he started? Tyrod was injured?
Tyrod got hurt in the first quarter.
Oh, okay.
No, he in preseason. Pregame warm-ups.
Oh.
Right, because I remember he said he literally told him right before kickoff that he was going to start.
Oh, wow.
His chest, he's like something with his chest. I don't know if he tore a pec and didn't know it or –
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, so he throws for 311 yards, I think 2 touchdowns. Had a very efficient game. Looked really good out there, which is surprising because I thought Herbert was going to be a bust. takes them to overtime, and then
gotta get rid of the
City,
ball a little quicker.
Yeah, Kansas City had to. What'd you say? 3 straight 58-yard field goals, Mike. Marco?
Yeah, I think it was 54. It was like 53. Then he got a penalty. Then he hit 2 58 ones in a row.
So 2 interesting quotes from that game. Pat McAfee interviewed the Kansas City kicker. What's his name?
Dustin.
We'll find it right
Kicker
here. Butker. Harrison Butker.
Here.
He asked him, he's like, that was pretty impressive hitting those three straight 50-plus field goals out there. He's like, well, pregame I told coach I was good for a solid 67 in-game action in that direction because I was hitting them pretty consistently. He's like, actually, I hit a 70-yarder going that direction. I'm like, good God, man.
Golly.
But even actually after the game, when their rookie quarterback leads them, to an overtime game with the defending champions, I never remember his name, the Chargers head coach.
Anthony Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn was asked about his performance, and he said, well, we left a lot of things out on the field with Herbert today, and there's a reason he's the backup quarterback.
Add a boy on the confidence builder.
Right, like way to make him feel good about his first start and throwing for 300 yards. And
that's the opposite of our coach.
Yeah, good job, man. You did all right, I guess. We didn't get the dub.
Mr. Never criticize anybody, Dan Quinn.
Then Baltimore just went down to Houston and
whacked them.
Yeah, outclassed the Texans in every way possible.
This is like Bill O'Brien's career is coming to a head because he set this team up for disaster. If
only the Texans had a number 1 receiver to go against those elite.
Right.
Well, no, remember last year it didn't matter either. They lost like 41-7 to the Baltimore. Baltimore's just a better team.
Baltimore is stacked.
They're stacked and they better coaching staff. Bill O'Brien it's just nothing he can do against them.
They're 3 deep at running back. They're 2 deep at tight end. Their offensive line lost to Marshall Yanda, so that everyone thought that was going to be a big hit in their run game, but it hasn't affected them. And then their secondary is just you have 3 number 1 corners playing in that secondary. And then they've added a pass rush and run stopping. So it may be Baltimore's season.
The Chiefs might be in trouble on Monday.
That's
their defense is terrible.
Then we go to probably the best game of the week, where you had New England at Seattle, which came down to a goal line stand for Seattle where they had to stop Cam Newton on the 1. They hadn't stopped it all game.
Yeah, they hadn't. And that was funny, though. It's like literally everybody in the world knew it was going to happen. I thought they should have just, maybe switched it up a little bit because it didn't look good.
Well, when you ran it 4 times before in the game and you got 4 touchdowns out of it.
That's what I'm saying. The law of averages say it won't work the 5th.
That's true. But Cam Newton threw for almost 400 yards in that game. He looked really, really good. Really good. The New England secondary last year.
Give Olsen a big bro hug.
That was cool to see. The biggest story, though, is New England last year, their secondary gave up 4 touchdowns all season long to wide receivers. And in this game alone, they gave up 5.
That was unbelievable to me that their defense was that good last season.
The defense was more complete last year because they've lost 6 really, really big contributing players that team this year on defense because of all the opt-outs. Then we get to the game that you want to talk about, Marco, with New Orleans at Las Vegas, where Las Vegas actually beats New Orleans 34-24. What do you want to hear?
You were saying that John Gruden pretty much gave the recipe to beat the Saints, but all I really saw was them running straight up the middle, getting to the edge, and exploiting the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the recipe?
That is the recipe. What are you about to say, Micah?
I just heard that Drew Brees looked 75 years old yesterday.
There's a couple things that they did. They played ball control offense. They barely passed the ball deep on them. They know that in passing situations, the Saints want to run man. So what they would do is they would split Waller out and force a safety to cover him or a linebacker one-on-one. And both times it's going to be a mismatch because Waller is just too fast for a linebacker and too big for a safety. He's 6'6", 220, and probably runs around the 4'4", 4'5" range. And
his hands are ridiculous. Like Derek Carr was throwing it behind him like all the time.
He's a beast. At Georgia Tech, I mean, he's just another one of those freakish Georgia Tech receivers. It's like, why did you go to a triple option system?
Right.
And was actually another tight end that the Ravens had drafted, but he had substance abuse problems. And I saw a really cool quote on Instagram where Mike Wallace, the old Steelers and Ravens, Dolphins, Ravens, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wide receiver said, when I was in Baltimore, this guy would go consistently for 250 yards in practice. Every practice, he would just torch people. But when it came down the field, something was missing, and then it came out that he was into heavy drugs. It was whatever he could get his hands on. And his interview on I forget the name of the podcast. Someone sent it to me, but where he talks about his addiction and all that is very cool. Very
it's like pills or something.
Heroin, pills, anything, literally anything he could get his hands on to get a high, he would do it. So the biggest thing is short passes. They did not let the Saints pass rush because that's something that they really thrive on, is letting Cam Jordan, pressing on the edges, letting their D-line get pressure, or that blitz from their 3 or 4 very versatile linebackers they have. Expose Malcolm Jenkins in coverage. He's just too old now. But the big thing is on defense, they packed the middle of the field. They said, you know what, Drew Brees, if you're going to throw it, you're throwing it 15 yards that way, 15 yards this way, or 15 yards plus that way. And he just doesn't have the arm strength anymore.
Mm-mm.
So they were forcing long throws. They're like, you're not throwing it to the middle of the field. You're not doing it. They didn't sack Drew Brees at all, but they forced him to dump it off all the time. They forced him to throw these into areas where he's not comfortable getting that ball out. And, the Saints don't really have, other than that who's number 11? What's his name now for the Saints?
Tre'Quan Smith.
No, not him.
The speedy guy who returns kicks.
The little tiny guy that Marco said is the prototypical Sean Payton Saints player. He's about 5'8", runs a 4.3. They don't really have a deep threat this year. So, Emmanuel Sanders is too old. Tre'Quan Smith stepping in for the injured.
I don't even think Emmanuel Sanders had a completion.
He had one catch for 17 yards on the last drive.
Okay.
So it just really depends. Granted, it looked like they were running up the middle on the Saints all day, but that was an effective run to beat up that D-line, wear them down, wear that pass rush down, and keep it away from the Saints, because the Saints thrive on turnovers.
Right. And the other strategy is to wait outside Michael Thomas's house with a baseball bat.
Nancy Kerrigan him.
Right. Because without him, Drew Brees looks ancient.
I think even if you do that to Drew Brees, to Michael Thomas, you can let him live on the outside because you have an extra defender with the boundary with him.
Right.
He is an excellent route runner. His route running within 15 yards is just so crisp, but he makes most of his big runs and big gains over the middle, beating you over the middle. And if you have that, there's 2 guys always helping in there in robber zones and shading, you don't got to worry about it too much.
Deontay Harris is number 11.
Okay.
There you go. So I think, Gruden's a good coach, and it really made me mad watching that. I was like, man, the Raiders were like, we're just a good coach away. And it took him, 2 years? This is his third? Or is this his second?
No, I think it's his third.
Right, because they were on
first year he got rid of Khalil Mack. Last year he got rid of Amari Cooper, and then this is his third.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he's really he's transformed that team into just one of those tough. He's not quite Belichick-esque on the type of players that he wants, because he will get some guys that have a little more personality to him, because that's just who Gruden is. But he knows the type of guys that he wants, and he knows how to win football games.
And you can tell his players absolutely love him.
Yeah, exactly. That video in the locker room, that was really cool. So I think the Saints got exposed a bit. I still think they're too talented to not win 11, 12 games.
I think they're trash.
That's that.
Nothing. The funny thing was that people would be like, "Oh man, the Saints, the refs robbed them." It's like the Saints get a lot of penalties in every game they play.
They're a heavily penalized team always. Austin Riley apparently robbed someone of a hit. Is what just popped up. The NFL actually levied out over it's like $1.05 million in fines this last week because of coaches not wearing their not wearing masks on the sideline. Shanahan, Carroll, Fangio, and Gruden was actually seen on the sidelines not wearing masks.
What about Sean Payton? I heard he wasn't wearing one too.
Yeah, this last
God, I wish he would. I hate his face.
The article came out before that, but funny enough, Gruden and Sean Payton being two of the guys that were not wearing masks, and both of them actually had contracted COVID at one point.
Right. So Gruden actually contracted, or did he just that
was going to be my question. It's like, did he actually do it? Or was that prank?
It was the prank.
But yeah. Oh, apparently Sean McVay was also an offender in this as well.
What is up with these guys, man?
I mean, it's the same thing. The same question I posed to you guys about the Georgia Tech thing. Like, if they spend all week together, they do all these activities together. You all right, Marco?
What is it? Andy Reid out here looking like a whole school bus.
He's the windshield wiper.
Oh man!
Oh,
you just can't even put on a mask. It's
but
crazy.
like, they're the NFL is testing. The NFL is getting all these results. These players are not coming back positively. They are quarantined. It's essentially a bubble, but it's just a patchy bubble. It's all over the place. So your players are negative. All the staffers are negative. Really, the master in the game are just for show, in my opinion.
Right.
It's to send a message. So it's kind of dumb that you're finding these coaches.
I would.
You say you would find them?
I would, because the NFL has more impact than we want to give them credit for.
Right, I get that. That it's for a message, but
yeah, but I mean, ultimately, that's the message. Like, look, we're trying to portray this message that people need to wear their masks, and all those staunch Trump supporters who refuse to wear masks, they need to see y'all wearing your mask at all times to let you know that we're trying to be safe.
Don't embolden them because their favorite coaches are wearing his mask.
Exactly.
Here was my favorite thing about the way Belichick was wearing his mask. So he had it on to this part right here. And what he did was he folded up the bottom of it to where it looked like he was still wearing it, but his mouth was completely free. And every now and then you would get a sideline shot of him and you would see all this part free and you'd see him go turn real quick.
But to me, it's like you said, it is sort of silly because even like I always thought with the NBA thing, it's like you literally know every single person here doesn't have it. But yet they I know Marcus Smart, when they interviewed him for his all defensive team, he's literally in the lobby by himself wearing a mask, like on his phone. It's like, why are you wearing? But like Micah said, it's best to not embolden people, when it is, very important that.
Well, plus, the biggest thing with them is they're not forced to wear their mask off outside of the facilities. So when they're at home with their family and whatnot, they can do whatever they want to. They don't even have to wear the trackers when they're at home, So it's one of those. Look, we're just gonna play it safe, and look, this is what we're implementing this rule just for this year. Suck it up for a few hours, and you're good. At least when you're on camera, halftime you can take it off all you want, but right. When you're on camera, we want all the fans to see that all of y'all have your masks on.
All right. Let's get into this. We're going to talk about how this past Sunday, our Falcons took a 29-10 lead and turned it into a 39-40 loss. The Falcons are building a reputation at being very, very good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Nice turn of phrase.
I know. So we're going to do it. We're going to do this organized, gentlemen, because we all have a lot of feelings about this, and this could get real messy real quick. So what we're going to do is we're all going to vent for a second. And Micah, Mount Micah is going to go off first. We're going to let him talk about it. And we're only going to vent our feelings first. Then we're going to get into our outlook on the season now. One negative takeaway that we took from the game, one positive takeaway that we took from the game. Cool?
Yep.
Micah, the floor is yours.
I'm.
How do you feel about the game? Let me at least set you up.
I mean, I'm just over it, just done. You know, my thing is like you know, I was telling y'all before the show, I hate bad football. You know, it's why I don't it's why I don't watch high school. It's why I don't, you know, watch those like Mountain West conference football, college football games and stuff like that, because it's a lot of just bad, simple stuff, and it's just terrible. Like, you know, I remember I went to one of my cousin's football games and I watched a team run the same play over and over again, and my cousin's team's coaches couldn't stop it. The other team had a 240-pound running back. They just handed halfback dives up the middle constantly. And it was like, so you're just not going to put more bodies in the middle? Force them to pass. Hell, if you put 11 in the box, make them throw the ball. Like, do something else. But don't let this one running back get halfback dives and just run it down your throat all game. Dude had like 250 rushing yards against them and like 3 tugs. And it's like, yo, make an adjustment. Like, y'all are legitimately losing this game because you can't stop one player. And it's things like that that just like frustrate. It frustrates me. It's like, dude, folks, coaches are getting paid to play the game or to coach the game and make adjustments. And half of y'all aren't smart enough to make simple goddamn adjustments. Not to mention players. The fucking onside kick, really? As a player, if you're on the field, you always have to know your situation. How are you on the field on an onside kick and not know that they can recover the ball over 10 yards? So
6 Falcons.
Yeah. It's like, and it's like, oh, don't touch. Like, bro, it's not a punt. It's an onside kick. Fall on it. If you don't, and if it does pop out of your hands, you hopefully have enough teammates there to cover the ball up. But like I said, if like you watch the ball and allow them to get there to pick it up, to easily pick it up. It's like, bro, and folks say, oh, that's on the coaches. But yeah, it is on the coaches. But as a coach, you would think your players would know that, like would know the rules on onside kicks. And I'm the whole thing pissed me off. Where from the last drive where we had the ball and just kind of played it simple. You know, we were just like playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And it's like, bro, they can't stop us. Just keep going. Keep going to offense. Go score another touchdown. Go up by 3 scores instead of 2. And really ice the game. It's just, I'm just done. I'm over it.
Marco, how do you feel?
So, I mean, there's so many things, right? Because one thing I know for certain, and this shows its head over and over again. Like in this game, you can point to a lot of things, right? We gave up 28 points in the third quarter. I think we give up that many points, and our third quarters are just appalling, and that goes to show that we don't adjust, right? Julio dropping that easy pass and trying to blame it on his hamstring. The trying to go for two, I guess Dan just doesn't understand. He wanted to go up 3 scores. Like, why? Why at that point in the game do we need to go up 3 scores? And that ends up biting us. And then obviously the special teams thing, where the Dallas special teams coordinator literally said he kicked it intentionally towards their own sideline so that the coaches could not yell at the players. What I know for sure, as long as Dan Quinn is our coach and there's a moment that decides the game, he's going to make the wrong decision. As long as there's a moment where we have to be clutch or we have to do something, just one thing. We just need to do one thing and we can win this game. It's not going to get done. As long as Dan Quinn is here, that is what it is. Dan Quinn does not make good decisions. He does not pay attention to details. He does not prepare his guys appropriately. Yeah, those players, obviously, that's like, how do y'all not know that? That's like, but then we say that same thing about the Super Bowl. How do y'all not know that you're just supposed to run the ball and kick a field goal? How do y'all not know that? What's the common link? DQ. It's always DQ. DQ makes terrible decisions that always end up biting us. And that's what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, when the Super Bowl shenanigans happened, Shanahan was the scapegoat. Out he goes. He was the easy scapegoat.
They're still a playoff team. With all their starters hurt, they still look freaking good.
So the next year, it's like, oh, the defense. So Dan takes over defense. Oh, he was overloaded. We switch it off. Those coordinators don't work out. We fire 3 coordinators, and then I think the year before we fired 2 before that. So now it's like, we've cleaned house except at the top. It's Dan Quinn 100%. And I've always been a Dan Quinn supporter, and I've always thought, because he does get the guys that can perform, because if we didn't have Dan Quinn, we wouldn't have Grady Jarrett, we wouldn't have Keanu Neal, we wouldn't have Deion Jones, we wouldn't have Foye, we wouldn't, those are the guys that Dan Quinn wants. I would love to make Dan Quinn the head of scouting for the Atlanta Falcons. I would absolutely love that because he knows his guys. He knows the type of the guys that can fit the system and succeed in the NFL. He's great at that. Dante Fowler is a Dan Quinn guy. But yeah, between the ears, he's just not there, man. He doesn't have a killer instinct. And I think that shows in the way he runs practices and the way he runs this team. All his players loved him. You know what everyone in New England did? They fucking hated the way Belichick ran that team because they were afraid of him. Now, they loved Belichick as a coach because Belichick won, and they liked him off the field. But the way Belichick is between those sidelines and in that building, everybody knew, don't fuck with Belichick. Belichick is all about winning. Belichick is all about doing everything right. If it takes you 60 times, we're going to do it 60 times that day, and we're going to get this right. That's not the case with Dan Quinn. He just does not have that step on their necks. And, Dan Quinn would actually help a guy up like, well, let's make this a competitive game, guys. That's not fair if we have an advantage here. That's not – he's not that guy. And it's just – that permeates through your organization. And I think it's a little bit unfair to be like, well, why didn't we go for the kill in this game when all we had to do in the Super Bowl was to run it 3 times and kick a field goal? You see what I'm saying there? It's like hindsight is always 20/20 on those type of decisions. And like, you think you're going to get it. You never think, oh, I'm just going to run it 3 times and then punt it. You think I'm going to run it and we're going to get a first down. Then we're going to run it again. But you have to be able to read the momentum of the game. And that's one thing Dallas and McCarthy did in that game. They saw what they were doing to us, and they're like, if we continue to do that and they can't stop it, we're going to do it. It's kind of like that high school game you said, Micah. McCarthy had McCarthy called, I'll say, you want to say McCarthy called it, or do you want to say Kellen Moore called it, Micah? Because I know he's the offensive coordinator.
Kellen Moore technically calls the plays.
So they saw what was working for them, and they had 3 straight drives of under 3 minutes to score on us. That tells me that team saw what was working, and they said, this is our way we're going to win this game. And they went for the kill, and they got it.
And prior to that, McCarthy had one of the most embarrassing coaching performances I had ever seen. Like he could have been fired after that game, how bad he coached, up until late in the third, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, it just hurts, man. It just it really sucks looking at a team and knowing that it can be so much better, but it's just not under the right leadership.
I mean, and I mean, I'm pissed at Quinn too, but I mean, really, what frustrated me the most is we've touted up so many pieces on this defense. Okay, but when Foye forced like 4 fumbles in the first quarter. Well, 3, and then the 4th was the one that got called back. Foye was making impact cramps. Tack was hitting Dak almost every time he dropped back. Pulls his groin. You got
Ricardo.
Who else? Oh yeah, Rico. Rico was making good plays in the middle of the field, in coverage, taking stuff away, making reads.
The defense.
Orchestrating the defense. Not to mention like that play, the play where Amari gets behind Keanu Neal. If that was Rico, it probably wouldn't have happened because he's a much better cover guy than Neal is. But it's like, all right, so they go down and the defense looks completely different without those 3 people. Despite the fact we still have Debo, got Keanu Neal, the corners are still the same, but it's like it's not even the same defense.
But even so, man, it's like there's so many built-in excuses to every game, right?
But
what it came down to was one play.
Well, yeah, but at the end, but here's the thing: offensively, we really didn't make any real. Well, we made some mistakes, but no turnovers. We didn't turn the ball over at all. So we took care of the football. Problem was defensively, like after that first quarter, we didn't put any pressure on Dak. Grady didn't get he didn't get a hurry. He didn't get a hit. I think they doubled Fowler, but I mean it was legitimately.
He got hurt too, didn't he? He had some kind of injury too, didn't he?
Who?
He kept playing, but didn't Fowler get hurt too in the first half?
I think he got dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, he got
dinged. But at the same time, like I said, it was like he never after Dak went out, Dak didn't feel pressure at all the rest of the game. And honestly, when Dak went out, even the run game started to go off. When Foye got hurt, Zeke started to impose his will, and it changed the whole outcome of, because it was just like our defense just got bullied. He was running over folks, and it's just like, bruh, really?
I don't know, man. I just can't with. It's like it's just so hard for me to, because I know, like I said, there's so many things that happen wrong, right? But at the end of the day, it came down to one play. And if we make that play, we walk away and we say, oh, man, we could have done this, that, but we got the win. And
yeah, but even still, and like I said, but I still put that on the players too. Because like I said, in that scenario, you're on Hans team for a reason. You work all week on Hans team, or you do your entire special teams practice. So you know what your job is. On an onside kick, you dive on the ball.
But it's always this same thing. And that's why I want, even like, I I almost got to think like, how much of this is Arthur's fault? Like, you know what I mean? Because how much of this culture are we just okay with being okay? Are we just okay with being subpar? Why the hell is Dan Quinn still our coach? What has he ever done?
I was reading an article about that on why he was, and it was his willingness to make changes in the organization. This is direct quotes from Arthur from 2019. His willingness to make changes within the organization, reduce his own role, accept blame, the players backing of him, and there was one more. I forgot what it was. But you can't blame Arthur. Arthur wants to win, and
losing is our culture. That's
Arthur's shown that with Atlanta United, though, that he won't.
As long as he's been here, losing has been our culture for the Falcons. That's what
Atlanta United isn't the Falcons.
It's still Arthur's team, though.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you don't have lifetime United players. You haven't come out.
Only been around for 3 years.
Well, I mean, but what's his name? Martin. He hadn't come out and said Joseph is a lifetime United player.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Arthur is a great man. He's an extraordinary businessman. He wants his drive and passion for winning is so apparent. But like Micah said, Roddy White never played for another team. Like, Julio's never going to play for another team. Matt Grady.
Should they have?
I'm not saying that I'm just saying it's a mentality of keeping things the same when they're obviously not working. I don't know. Let's move on to B.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things that, like you said, could have gone differently. I think it showed how important Foye is to this defense.
Yeah.
I think it showed how important Dak is to this defense. All right, so guys.
But it also, Go ahead.
Let's kill it. Let's dead that. What is your outlook on the season now? Has it changed from the beginning of the season? Is it remaining the same? Is that just a blip? We got really unlucky. That fucking sucked. Is it going to be our turning point in either direction? How do you feel, Marco?
Well, I think that the Falcons are just going to Falcons. Like, you never really know what to expect. You just know if the game's close, we're probably going to lose it. But I don't think that losing these 2 games necessarily is a tombstone on our season. But I know the odds aren't against us. I think the only team to win a Super Bowl that started 0-2 was the Giants. I think some years back, the Panthers started 0-2 and finished 12-4, or maybe 14-2. I forget which one it was. So, I mean, there's a chance, but I don't know. The Falcons haven't shown me anything to prove that they're just going to suddenly be world beaters. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I still think every game's a 50-50 opportunity.
I'm going to say that moment right there was the gut punch that we needed. And we saw in the beginning of the game, we were all talking about it, how differently this team looked in the first and second quarter. We were running blitzes. We were running a Shanahan offense. We look completely different. Like, we're going to get Foye back. It was just cramps. We're going to get Tack back. It was a groin injury. He may miss a game or 2. At some point, we're going to see Marlon Davidson be an addition to this defense. The youth on the defense is a bright point. I think actually even Lionel posted an article about that. Like, the youth on this defense is the future, and we're gonna get better. You saw different schemes than we ran in week 1. We were actually disguising our defense. We were doing things that we don't normally do. The moment got the better of us at the end. You know, you're talking about Hayden Hurst, a guy who's been in the league for 3 years. OZ, even Julio was on Hand's team and didn't jump on it. Julio watched it from the back. He could have ran. I mean, granted, you know, it's not his role there, but his role is to be there if a ball skips over the defenders. And that was on the ground the whole time. So he could have got up there. I think it was one of those moments where you see guys in basketball get an open shot and they freeze. And they're like, no, I don't want to be the guy to miss this. And none of them wanted to be that guy to dive on the ball and mess it up. When they saw someone else not diving on it, they thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't be diving on this. Maybe there's something I didn't know. So I think Especially next week, I'm not afraid of the Chicago Bears. I'm not afraid of Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky looked like shit in the first game for the first 3 quarters, and then he got lucky in the third. He barely beat the New York Giants, who are a bad football team, and especially now that Saquon's down, they are a bad football team, and they only beat him by 4 points. I think we're going to come out and we're going to show, we're going to bounce back in that game. Green Bay is a different story. That one can go either way for me. But after that, we could run off 5 games in a row if you look at our schedules. So, wrong one. Let me pull it back up here for us.
I mean, and those are the kind of things, though, that as a Falcons fan, we always do that, right? We always look at these games and we're like, oh, this one right here, definite win. But then we always end up being in a 21-19 drag out or, some high scoring affair. Like the Bears game might be 14-15, with 5 minutes left in the fourth. You know what I mean? I hope not, but I'm just saying that's what we always see as Falcons fans.
I get what you're saying.
Besides the Super Bowl year, how often, and then closing out last season, how often do we really just go and handle people who are bad?
Take away the onside kick, Marco. Just eliminate that play from the game. And think about how good we looked when, on offense. Think about how efficient we were on offense. Think about how good we were on defense when we were fully healthy. Now, granted, health is not something you can count on in football. I get that. I totally get that. But you see the talent is there, and you see the ability to execute properly is there. The young players are getting more experience every game. The pass defense will get better. They're going to see more NFL reps. They're going to see more reps in practice, and they're going to get coaching every single game. They're going to get better. We mentioned how A.J. Terrell looked so good. Kendall Sheffield will eventually come back, and he will push Oliver to either play better or you're going to dime back. Yeah, because Denard has locked down that nickelback spot. But before I go too deep into that, you've got the Panthers, the Vikings, the Lions, the Panthers again, and then the Broncos. Each one of those games, they are not more talented than us.
But who is, though? Dallas wasn't more talented than us.
On offense, they're equally as talented as us.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. I'd say we definitely have the talent edge on just across the board.
Okay, so at this point in his career, Matt is probably still better than Dak.
Definitely better than Dak.
CeeDee Lamb versus Russell Gage?
Toss up.
Okay. Amari Cooper versus Julio?
Julio.
But it's not leaps and bounds. Like Julio is in a tier 1 receiver, like the top of tier 1. And Cooper's probably either the bottom of tier 1 or the top of tier 2. And then you've got Gallup versus Ridley. I would say that's a push.
Ridley.
If Ridley continues this, yeah. But Gallup is no pushover, Marco.
I mean, I think Ridley's a better receiver. Now Gallup's a good receiver. I just don't think he's quite as good as where Ridley is right now.
So it's very close then, you'd say.
And well, really the biggest difference is Zeke is much better than what Gurley is right now.
Right. Yeah. So it's very close, Marco. I would say offensively. I mean, they're up there. Right now the Falcons have the best wide receiver trio just from as far as statistics go. But at the beginning of the season, people were talking about the Cowboys. Cowboys that have the best wide receiver core by far. They also have a much better offensive line than us when healthy. That's another thing that made me so mad that they were a patchwork offensive line. And what we sack them once?
We didn't sack him.
Did we? Yeah.
We did the fumble.
That's right. That's inexcusable. That's inexcusable for a line that looked like they did the week before.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Once Tack went down, the pressure was just non-existent.
Grady, I didn't call Grady's name once. I didn't that entire game. This was a game for a team that was as weak in the interior as they were, and the fact that we were just simply sacrificing our nose tackle over Zach Martin. We said, Grady Jarrett, you're going to go against one of these guys on the right side of the line. for him not to get, he got half of a tackle for loss and 0 sacks. That was it. That's not okay. Not for our leader on defense. Anyway, Micah, what's your outlook on the season?
It's grim right now. I mean, the optimistic side of me wants to hope that was essentially what the Eagles game was in 2016, where, we just got dominated to the point where, well, it was Eagles and Chiefs. It was, and Chargers. Like those 3 games were one of those where it was just like, all right, and we took those losses and it was like, yeah, we can't do that again. And we came back and, hopefully we can bounce back and, make it an 11-5 season or something. But I mean, part of me is still like, we're looking 6-10ish as well. I mean, we could easily be 6-10ish because, as dominant as Tack has been when he's on the field, Tack's problem has always been he gets these little knick-knack nagging injuries, and it's like, all right, well, he looks like he's ready to turn the corner and be a very good pass rusher, but he can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy and play all 16. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those. The optimistic side of me part of me wants to be optimistic and think that we're going to bounce back from this and, have a good season. But part of me is just like, bro, this is just the end of the Quinn, Dimitroff era.
I'd be shocked if they let Dimitroff go. Honestly, would. I think Quinn would definitely go.
I think it's just too many years he's been there for us to be underachieving, and it's just like, all right, we're just gonna scrap it and go in a different direction.
But has the problem been the personnel, or has it been the coaching?
Yeah, I think it's more utilization of personnel because we always consistently are said to have talent everywhere.
But here's the thing. The personnel now is a lot of Dan Quinn's just knowledge and putting teams together. Because remember, Mike Smith, Dimitroff just went for all of these no-name guys. Like he had that Patriots mentality. I'm going to get this dude out of Montana and coach this guy up into this elite pass rusher or whatever. But, Dan Quinn has a great eye for talent. And so it's like they kind of go hand in hand.
Let's do this then. Let's get rid of or shift Dimitroff, right? Remember what we did when we brought in Pioli? So let's shift Dimitroff over and, promote by way of vacating the head coach position, Dan Quinn to co-GM. And just let
what's the guy who used to be our GM who took Jamal Anderson? Rich McKay. They promoted him.
He's the president.
He did terrible, and they promoted him.
Good job. You're no longer a GM. All right. So you're saying you're leaning bleak, Micah?
Yeah.
So you're saying if you had to predict a record right now,
like I said, the optimist in me says 11-5. But the way I'm feeling after
I want you to pick a side of the fence that you're going to be on.
I'm looking at 6-10 now.
6-10, Marco.
Like I said, we're looking like every game could potentially be a 50-50 affair. So I'm looking at like 9-7, 8-8.
I'm gonna go 10-6.
And this is just based off. Obviously, I'm optimistic, but this is just based off what I've seen.
Yeah. Man, that Panthers game is gonna be a high-scoring game.
Right. But we have to our defense, we have played two teams that are gonna be good, two playoff teams. Like even though the NFC East is terrible, Dallas is obviously the class of that division.
Yeah, by far. I mean, they're not going to lose a game in that division. They may drop one.
Right. Unluckily,
until Philly gets healthy,
they might lose to Washington.
Hell no.
That'd be a sight to see. It is a Ron Rivera team, so they will get better. All right. So, what is one negative takeaway that you had from that game? I'm gonna lead this one off, and I'm gonna say I kind of touched on it earlier. It's the D line. For as good as they looked in week 1 at just generating pressure from that front 7, and for us to have that signing of Fowler and Grady sitting right next to him, for them to not get any sacks against that offensive line, that was a little bit concerning. Granted, we were blitzing the linebackers a little bit more, so they were asking them to do a little bit different things. But at a certain point, you have to win your one-on-one matchup up front. And a lot of when Tack did go down, they did shift they shifted the tight end over onto Fowler's side and doubled him a lot. I get that. And Fowler still did a very, very good job against the run in that game. But that's not why we brought you in, Fowler. We brought you in to get those 10 to 15 sacks. Grady, you're our leader. You have to win your one-on-one on the inside. That's a bit concerning to me for them to go from such a high in week 1 to such a low this week. That's my one negative takeaway. Whoever wants it next can grab it.
Go ahead, Micah.
Same thing as week 1. Cutter. I'm frustrated. Now it's so. First of all, that last drive we had the ball, we should have been pedal to the metal, trying to score again, and we didn't. It was essentially just, all right, just run some clock, run the ball a few times, and then punt. When you knew our defense couldn't stop them. My thing is, your offense is like, they can't stop your offense. If anything, I'd be green light. We're trying to score as much as possible, and because that way we don't want to put any pressure on the defense to have to seal this game. We want the offense, and that's always been my frustration. As for a team that's built the way we are, we don't put enough pressure on our offense to win games for it. It's always, well, let's trust the defense. No. You're built as an offensive team. Turn it on, pedal to the metal until you know that game is over. Now, but then another thing that kept frustrating me was that damn toss play, that shotgun toss play. It worked in the first half. Second half, they made adjustments. We still ran it like 5 times in the second half, and it's like, all right, they've adjusted. So what would Shanahan do in a situation like that? Like, okay, you've adjusted to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a receiver in motion, snap the ball, and this time I'm going to fake the toss and hand it to the receiver on the end around. Or I'm going to fake the toss and then try and take a shot downfield to my best receiver or Ridley or somebody on the weak side. Do something else, because what they've adjusted to what we're doing. Quit trying to – I get it. You want to run the ball, because the run keeps the clock going and stuff like that. But, they figured that play out. Do some kind of adjustment to it to make it work again. Because that's the one thing that made us unstoppable with Shanahan was he had so many wrinkles. He'd give you so many looks, but there were so many wrinkles out of that one look that it's like you didn't know what to expect, and it kept defenses on their toes, because it's like, all right, well, we stopped the toss this time, but next time it's an end around. Next time it's a play action pass. Just, you got to hit them from different ways. You can't just keep running that same play over and over again, even like after it. All right, they've adjusted to it.
So based on like just to comment on what Micah said, I think Cutter, I'd give him like a 75, 80 in terms of his play calling for this game. But yeah, it unfortunately that 25-20 of negativity came in the second half, where especially I forget that one goal line play me and you were talking about, Orion, when he ran something on first down that was, I forget exactly what he did, but it didn't make sense. Then on second down, he ran something he should have ran on first down, and then it just put us behind the gun.
Yeah.
And then all that, the first time we ran the 12 gauge or whatever you want to call it now, it didn't make any sense. The second time, obviously, Julio just needs to make that catch.
I think that was a setup play. They set up that first one.
So the second one.
Well, it was like a third and the first time we ran, it was like a 3rd and 4.
Yeah.
And we were just out of field goal range, which is like, all right, I get it, but it's too long to potentially run the read option and get those 4 yards. Even though I think if Gage had kept the ball on that first handoff, we probably would have gotten it anyway.
So I think that, he definitely, you could tell he listened to some of the criticism and he put some motion in there. He tried to help Matt a little bit, but then he got back to his tendencies in the second half. So for my one negative takeaway from the game, once again has to be coaching decisions. That one point that could have, led to a tie that cost us. And then we can blame it on players all day long, but at the end of the day, the Dallas players had to be coached to kick that ball like that, have the discipline to wait for it to go 10 yards. Everything we didn't do, they did because they were coached better than us. I'm just saying. That's my takeaway.
I get it, but at the same time, that's your job. So what you're on the field to do.
Still, when the coach sees something as peculiar as a kicking without a tee, it should be high alert. And they took a timeout. They took a freaking timeout before it happened. Like, be on high alert. I heard the call, Arch on the call. He was even saying, "Oh, they better watch for this." And then, like you said, obviously the players are the ones who messed up the worst. But at the end of the day, coaching to me was my most negative takeaway.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm just saying, like Ryan said earlier, it was almost like everybody was scared to be the one to make the mistake. Like, oh, I don't want to dive on it. I don't want to be the one to dive and fumble it. And so a whole bunch of people were scared to make mistakes. So nobody did anything.
Right.
That's why it's frustrated me with the players. And yeah, that you could put that on coaching, but at the same time, the players are the ones that have to execute. So, I can, as a coach, because I've coached before, I can beat something in your head all day. But if you get out on the field and you just do whatever you want to do, then it's like, dude, how much responsibility can I take for you not listening to me?
Well, at the same time, it's like you don't know because I'm assuming that Dan didn't necessarily prep them for that because he assumed that they should know what to do in that situation, right? But at the same time, because I'm sure he wasn't prepared for that type of kick, right?
That's not on Dan. That's on Kotwika. That's his unit.
Kutwika?
Yeah, that's our special.
Either way, coaching is coaching. I'm just putting it on Dan because, if things go wrong, you blame the guy in charge. But anyway,
to add on to that, jumping on the end of it, one of the things that went very early in my career in playing, like I think I had a moment where I had an opportunity to shoot and I passed it and I wound up turning over the ball. And coach asked me why, and it's like, I didn't want to be the one to mess it up. And he's like, look, son, I'd rather you try and make a mistake than defer and make a mistake.
And never even give an opportunity to
Yeah,
try.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I'll always remember. It's like,
right.
It's okay to make a mistake. At least you tried.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just like if they would have dived on the ball.
Yeah.
And there goes Marco for a second. Let's pause it for a second.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that if they would have made a play on that ball and then they somehow messed it up and it was live, that would be a lot easier to live with than them just watching it go 10 yards and looking like, grade school kids who had no idea what was going on. But anyway.
Man,
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just my frustration is on that play, and why I can't always put it on the coaches is like, like playing the read option, the triple option. Every player has their own responsibility. Like if I'm a defensive end, my responsibility is I get the running back or the quarterback, depending on what the responsibility is. If I play hero ball and I jump to if I'm supposed to get the quarterback and I jump down to try to get the running back and the quarterback breaks for a 40-yard run, then that's on me. And as a coach, I can tell, I told you, your quarterback is your guy. I know, coach. I just tried to, I saw the running back. I tried to make a play. Well, I mean, that was the exact opposite. Nobody wanted to be the hero in that scenario, and it wound up coming back to bite us. So it is what it is.
It's really crazy. And the thing that baffles me the most is Hayden Hurst, who came from the Ravens system, who their head coach was a special teams coach before becoming a head coach. And they are one of the best special team units in the entire league year in and year out because of their focus on special teams. For him to come here and to do that was just baffling to me. It's like, I've never seen 6 players freeze at the exact same time.
Right. But until the Falcons do it, that's just what it's with the Falcons. What was it? 440-0 in that situation. And we just
440 in Falcons.
Right. And then since 1933 or some crap like that.
All right. So let's end this on a positive note. What was your one, you can give me 2 if you like, positive takeaway from the game, Micah?
Foye looked great, but I mean that's about for the quarter and a half that he played, and that's about all I can say positive about that one.
Well, that's all I can say about that. Marco?
My positive is Matt Ryan, man. Like, he's just tearing it up, man. He's taking what they give him and finding all his reads. Yeah, his arm's still a little weak. You know what I mean? But that's always going to be who Matt is. But Matt is looking like a top quarterback in the league right now, despite Dirk Cutter's primitive offensive schemes. And I just got to tip my cap to that.
I'll say my positive takeaways are Foye, of course. Y'all know that's my dude. And AJ Terrell. He really started to show why he was the number 1 pick in that game. Coming down, making tackles in the run game, coming down, laying big hits on receivers in the flats, playing some really good coverage on some really good wide receivers. He didn't get a break all day. No matter who they cycled over to him or who he was supposed to take in there was never an easy assignment for him in that game. But Foye just showed his importance to this defense. Foye is going to be a special player in this league. He's too smart and he's too athletic for him not to be, and he really puts his time into the film study. So I'll say the future of this defense, whoever is going to be in control of it, is going to be bright because there's a lot of talent, a lot of guys there, a lot of young guys there. And that's one thing as well that's a positive takeaway for me is this defense is young. And young defenses will often start off rough and they get better as the season goes just because they don't have that game tape and they don't have that chemistry together. Every year the Patriots typically don't start young guys. They have these guys that are in there that are seasoned vets and they're in that Belichick system and they know it. We don't have that benefit right now. We have Tack, we have Grady, we have Rico, Kiki, yeah, but he's coming off an injury, and Debo. It's really it. So they're going to get better. They're all They were making plays on their individual assignments. They're just going to need to get better as a unit, and I think they will. Okay, what is it going to take to convince you guys that the Falcons have turned the season around? What will be a moment that you see?
So this stretch of games that you're talking about, that's so winnable. If we actually go through and win all these games, then I'll be like, okay, this is very un-Falcon-like for us to win games we're supposed to win, especially those AFC games, because we're cursed against the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
We just always no matter what, you can like sketch an L in for that. But if we actually, unlike how we usually do, handle these easy games, quote unquote easy games, then I'll be like, okay, we've turned the corner.
Micah?
I mean, if we just come out, like you said, in these next stretch of games and just start smacking people in the mouth. And I mean, if we start beating teams, 25, 30 points and, just embarrassing, dragging teams, then I'll believe like, yeah, okay, we've turned the corner. Like I mean, putting up 40 plus a game and the defense holding people under 21, then I'll be like, okay, we're where the talent says that we should be.
Yeah, I think my idea was kind of what both of you guys said. It's in these next couple of games, finding our identity, asserting our will on the teams instead of being reactionary, and winning this stretch. This stretch is the most important stretch of the season because we all know the second half of this schedule for us is a rough one. If we can, miraculously win 7 of these next 7 games and go into 7-2, then we'll definitely make the playoffs. If we win, we go 5-2. We're going to have some real lucky breaks against like the Chiefs, the Saints, the Buccaneers, because those are all the teams loaded on the back end of the schedule for us. We're going to have to split against the Saints, split against the Bucs, steal one from a team that, no one really expects us to do. And, yeah, I think it's going to have to be finding an identity, sticking to it, and asserting our will onto other people. And to cap this off, Arthur Blank was interviewed multiple times across the league and on multiple radio stations about this loss because, I mean, it was just inexplicable. I mean, you had national media members calling for Dan Quinn's head, which you don't typically see. Like Shannon Sharp was like, look, this has got to be it. Dan Quinn's got to go. This is something that you can't keep a coach around, especially after one of those already being on your resume. So he was asked, and he said, no coaching changes will be made at this time. I do believe if we do fall to the Bears, Dan Quinn's gone. He won't make it to the Packers. If we come out and beat the Bears and then lose the Packers, I think he'll still stick around just because the Packers are a good team, and depending on how that loss is. But I think this next game, if it's a loss, he's done. Yeah, I think that's it for the Falcons. Hopefully we don't have to have another one of these gloomy Falcons discussions. Hopefully the next time we're talking about the Falcons, we're talking about how good they looked. And, man, those first 2 games were something crazy. But, hey, look, we could be, 4-1 at this point, guys. But
right. DQ is like he should be like a motivational speaker after this because he is the eternal optimist. Like just hearing his interviews.
I haven't almost I couldn't bring myself to do it, man.
It's infuriating.
You speak.
It's like,
we're pissed off. I know you are. We're all pissed off, Dan.
We just got to learn. We just got to, learn, move forward. The guys just got to capitalize on these moments. And
it's a long season.
season.
We got a lot of good guys in that locker room.
Whatever platitudes he can come up with.
We got to embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. The bear is loose.
Jesus. Yeah, I every night when I go to bed, what I'll do is I will I'll go to the Atlanta Falcons YouTube page and I'll watch like the players' interviews, the coaches' interviews, and things like that, just to stay on top of things. And I've watched zero of it since the game. I just can't do it. I don't want to hear it. It's going to make me mad.
Right.
That may be a stretch of videos on the Falcons page that I will not watch. All right, so let's go to a lightning round. Micah just gave us a potential one. It says, what is the lamest dessert that people try and pass off as dessert?
What?
I don't know if I have. Okay, I got one, actually. Y'all want to go with that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I'm going to go. I may make some of my friends mad, but flan.
You don't like flan?
Or creme brulee.
I don't even know what that is.
They're very similar. I just don't. It's not like, to me, a dessert is, you got to have some savory and sweet together. Like an apple pie, you'll get that. You know, pies in general, cake. Even though cake's typically, just sweet. But I don't know. Desserts have to be something big. And like flan to me is just like congealed milk almost. Like it has that same consistency. The flavor is just okay. It's not one of those things that's like, wow, that was really good. It's like, yeah, that's an experience.
It's almost like you're reaching for water. You're reaching for something to drink when you're eating flan.
Yeah, like, meh. I'm not a big fan of it. Sorry if you like flan, but it ain't my thing.
Marco?
The only thing I can really think of as just a dessert that I like it, but it's not like, I don't really love it. Jell-O. I feel like Jell-O is like sort of like the kind of like, it's cool with the colors and stuff, but it all sort of tastes the same. And it's like, whoever really just wants to eat freaking Jell-O.
Apparently children and old people. That's it.
Right. That's it. Because I'd rather have like, I like pudding and sauces over Jell-O. So it loses the little plastic cup container battle to those two. So yeah, Jell-O's out of here.
Oh man, I actually got a couple. Jell-O was one of them. Tapioca pudding.
Ugh.
Yeah, like, folks eat that, like, cottage cheese with the fruit in it.
Oh yeah, that's inexcusable. Cottage cheese is not a dessert.
And well, they put the fruit in it, so they eat it kind of like that.
Right.
What was the other one? Oh man.
Ooh, Braves win 11-1.
Damn. Let's go.
What did I say? I said they needed 7 more, and I got 6 more.
It was one more. Oh, fruitcake.
Yeah. Nobody likes fruitcake.
So it's like this is supposed to be a dessert, but ugh.
You should put Nikki to task to see if she can create a good fruitcake.
I bet she could, honestly. Freeman went 3 for 5, so he broke that slump for you, Micah. He hit a bomb. Ozuna hit one. Albies hit one. Yeah, we saw all those. Who had all the ribbies? Ozuna.
We know
5.
what division titles mean in Atlanta, though.
Everything.
I know, right? Because we don't win anything else.
Rex. What do we got for Rex, gentlemen?
I've been watching the Cobra Kai show. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
What season you on?
Second season.
Oh yeah, I watched the entire first season. I haven't made it to the second season. My dad refuses to watch it.
Why?
Because he hates the fact that it's makes Daniel look to be the bad guy in a way.
That's the cool thing about it.
If you watch it, it doesn't really. It's sort of.
Oh, that's what I agree. But from the few episodes he saw, he was just like, Daniel's not the bad guy in it. I'm like,
is your dad a big Karate Kid fan?
Yeah, he is.
That's why I like it a lot, because it's so nostalgic. I just love how they brought all the old people back. But then, like when you get, I think by the time you get 3/4 of the way through season 1, you see that Daniel's not the bad guy. Like,
yeah. Well, that's why I tried to tell him, like, if you keep watching, he's not the bad guy, but it does show that, he had more blame for that rivalry than
right.
They portrayed it to be.
Because perception's everything, right? Because you only saw it from Daniel's perspective, but if you see it from the other dude's perspective, it's like, okay, well,
oh yeah, from Johnny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like in the original, like they did that whole video on the reverse of Daniel being the bully and Johnny was just the normal guy. And there were some times where Daniel, like when Daniel put the hose into the bathroom stuff and soaked Johnny, like, yo, just because he was in there, like, yeah, that was you deserve to get your butt kicked on that one.
Right. And he did move in on his girl, like,
yeah, he did.
Hey, girl.
He did, right?
I'm Daniel's son.
Right into them DMs.
That's his Instagram handle, Daniel's son. Take you all,
and then
Mr. Take.
The new Daniel, he looks just like. Do y'all remember who Jonathan Brandis was?
Yeah,
he looks just like Jonathan Brandis.
Yeah. Micah, you got a rec for us?
Jonathan Brandis.
The Boys. I finished episode 5, and it got crazy.
Okay.
I mean, it really took a twist that I never thought it would take, but yeah,
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. What episode are you on now?
I think I have to watch 4, or I might have watched 4. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, and I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey just to kill time, which is a really good game.
That is a great game. I like Assassin's Creed. Kind of lost its luster to me there for a while, and I was like, you know what? At the beginning, actually, it was at the beginning of COVID, like probably March, April-ish. Let me give this a shot, just because I'm a big fan of Greek mythology. And man, that game is awesome.
Yeah,
that game is awesome.
It takes place in like ancient times or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, all the Assassin's Creeds do, but this one is Greek. It's right after Battle of Thermopylae, I believe, where
yeah.
And the main protagonist has the Spear of Leonidas from 300. He has like the broken piece of the Spear of Leonidas, and yeah, so it's actually pretty good.
You're 2 generations removed from Leonidas because he's your grandfather. So 50-ish years, I would guess, because you're a kid and then you're somewhere in there. My rec would be if you got a Xbox today, like an extra one, and you're one of those douchebags buying multiples, hoping to
come up
on that. Don't do that. Slide in my DMs and let's make a deal. Because I would like to have one.
What, you gonna double them up?
Fuck
they gonna
no.
come up off you?
I'll give you the price. Stop being a dick.
I was about to say you give that 2-handed got 5,000.
Nope. I'll pass on that one. Shout outs, Micah. Do your boy.
Shout out to Chef Flu, Fred Fluellen, aka Chef Flu at Loving the Flu at Loving the Flu on Instagram. Yeah, I think holidays are coming up, so I don't know if he's doing a Halloween special for the smoked salmon mac, but if y'all can get your hands on it, try that. The fish and grits, we got another shout out. He got another shout out on the fish and grits just this week. So yeah, hit them up. Great food. I'm telling you won't regret it.
Marco, you got a shout out for us?
I'll just shout out some musicians. Matt Griswold, check him out. My homie T got beats. He just moved, so he's about to pick up his production again and really getting back on the ball. So just look out for those two.
Oh yeah, shout out to those conspiracy theorists that Marco was talking about, especially the flat earthers. You know, we're gonna give a shout out to those flat earthers.
Oh man, I lost it when I saw that video. That was so well done. For y'all that don't know what we're talking about, yeah, Marco made a reel on Instagram talking about conspiracy theorists, and for those of you all who are dedicated listeners, you'll know he is our resident conspiracy theorist. But it was very well done.
Thank you.
Check it out at Going Marco. Let me give my boy Trent Jure a shout out. He's one of our Xbox friends that we've known him for a long, long time. He's from Memphis. Currently lives in Vegas. He's a dancer. He's done shows with the Michael Jackson 1 Experience, the Beatles Love show.
Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, Cirque du Soleil, Aerosmith. He is a self-taught dancer. He started off in Memphis, and he started doing jukin, which is a dance from Memphis. It's kind of like, it's like a mix, like a little bit of crumping, but a little bit of Southern flavor to it. I don't really know how you describe it. It's a lot of footwork, a lot of like gliding, a lot of toe work, a lot of things like that. But the man is amazing. If you want to check him out, you can check him out at Trent Jeray. That's Jeray on Instagram. You can check him out on Twitch. He does streams at TrentoSon901. And you can check him out on YouTube as well. I believe he's just either Trent Jukin 901 or Trent Jeray. Who knows? He changes it from time to time. But really cool kid, really cool dancer, a lot of cool personality. I believe that's it for the show, gentlemen. That wraps up episode 20 of Fish and Grits, the podcast. Bang, bang. I am Ryan Dollar. Micah and Marco, you can see yourselves out.
Marco Equis.
Big Diesel.
Big Diesel. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.